Okay, so I'm going to try and take you on a kind of a whirlwind tour of this guide we put together earlier this year. We scheduled it to come out just in front of the Ridgequest earthquake. So I'll let you know how I did that later. So, there's a lot of areas of resilience we deal with in sort of thinking about businesses, right? It could be earthquake preparedness or fires. We've helped businesses after fires. Cyber attack preparedness, and actually there are some great resources now, especially City of LA's got a cyber lab. You should avail yourself of that opportunity to go talk to them, get advice from them. We think about recession resilience. Are businesses prepared for a downturn? We do some consulting for businesses on a pro bono basis on that. Even things like succession planning if an owner is going to retire, right? So there's a lot of things to think about. We're going to focus on earthquakes today. And I think the key takeaway for a lot of businesses is after a large earthquake, you're probably going to find your employees either are home or want to go home to check on their homes. And it may be hard for them to get into the office for a while, and for a variety of reasons, including freeways might have some damage. So they'll be at home, and odds are there could be power outages in the region. So you might be faced with, how do I run the business without any power and without any workers at the shop? So those are some things we sort of think about as kind of a baseline. You may have other utilities that are down. Internet might be down. Cell phones may or may not be working. And there could be other utilities like water, for example, that's off. So it's hard to plan for all of that, but we try our best in the guide to give you some kind of simple steps to take. There are some great new resources out there. Our guide's one of them, but there's also this initiative from the state called Outsmart Disaster, which is a great online tool. They've got something called a Resilient Business Challenge. It's free to take. And there are also other things I'll cover here in a second, especially related to IT. So it's going to be hard to do everything you normally do after an earthquake. So most folks I talk to say make a really short list of the very basic steps you need to keep running as an organization. What are the key things you need to worry about as far as business dependencies, other suppliers or vendors? Do you have communication? Have you talked to them what they're going to do if there's an earthquake? Will they still be able to provide services to you? Employee communications plans are going to be key. How are you going to be in touch with your employees to let them know it's time to come back to work, for example? There are different products out there you can use for that, for communications, which are mentioned in the guide, as well as, just basic stuff. Make sure you've got their emergency contact info updated and you know how to reach them. So we spent a lot of time in the guide talking about IT, and one of the great things that has happened since Northridge is the cloud. There's this opportunity now to back up everything in the cloud. You can run your email in the cloud, which we recommend. But even on a nightly basis, you can have all your data backed up to the cloud. Instead of a tape device that's on premise, if you have a short wall that falls on your computer server, it's probably going to crush the tape backups too. So you might as well put it up in the cloud where it's safe and replicated off-site. And it doesn't matter what's happening on the ground. And you can actually upload an entire image of your computer hard drive to the cloud so that if you ever did need to start with fresh hardware, you've got that image, you just load that right onto your new hardware. So those are some real nice advantages of the cloud. Oh, and I should mention there are a couple other little things. You can take pictures of your assets, pictures of your articles of incorporation, save those to the cloud too. And if there is power failure kind of coming up and down and power's coming on and off after an earthquake, which is likely, that's going to be very hard on computer hardware. So we do suggest you have a UPS on your critical hardware that has got shutdown software that'll actually shut down a computer server in an orderly fashion automatically. I should mention also for your staff working from home, you may be able to harness their productivity if they're forced to telecommute for a while. You might think about what apps they've got on their smartphones. Assuming we've got cell phone connectivity out there, they could check email, they could get into various apps on your system to run payroll, run other kinds of important operational stuff. So think about the apps they've got loaded on their smartphones and test to make sure they can get on remotely and run some of those operations. Anytime you do that, you introduce additional points of contact into your IT systems. Of course, you have to think about things like additional layers of authentication to reduce the risk of hacking. So that's just a consideration. Customer facing, website's a great one. Make sure your website's hosted somewhere where if there's a power outage locally, your website is still up. You could have it hosted out of region or, again, hosted in the cloud. Your website will be a good opportunity to put up a message to indicate, hey, there's going to be a delay in your orders. If you've got customer orders out there due to an earthquake here in LA, just be patient. So it's a good tool. You can also think about social media as a way to get the word out that there might be a disruption in business for a time. You can also set up your phones to forward. Maybe you've got an employee who's out of state who can take phone calls while people are on the ground here recovering. In terms of financial, there's a couple of things to think about. First off, there are some great recovery loan programs out there. One is California iBank. They're able to issue loans to businesses after an earthquake. And then also Small Business Administration. They can do loans to businesses, but also to homeowners. SBA actually does homeowner loans in an emergency. So those are two great assets. We also recommend you move away from paper checks, paper deposits, all that. Try and get electronic deposits like ACH, because it's going to be hard to collect checks from on receivables if the delivery trucks for your mail are having a hard time getting up and down your street. So same thing with direct deposit for employees. And then we've talked a lot already today about physical facilities and this idea that most buildings are only life safety oriented, and you want to make sure they'll actually be standing for you to reopen your business. So my suggestion would be just take one step this year. Get the inspection, or budget a small amount just to get started, get the ball rolling, and take some action this year. It's a lot easier if you take little steps towards it. And of course, test your plans. Anytime you put a new process in place, you have to make sure it works. And then we'll hope you share these ideas. Share the guide if you're out at meetings with other businesses. Let them know it's out there. It's a free guide. You can also get to it on our website, laedc.org/EQ for earthquake. And there's a Spanish version there too. And that's really all I have for today, but I hope you'll pick up a copy of the guide. There's copies at the door there, and lots of good resources, additional links. And this was put together by about 24 of the best experts in LA on this subject, so we were really happy to bring that collaboration together and make it happen. So thanks, and thanks to BizFed for hosting this series. It's an invaluable service BizFed is providing to the business community getting this out, and I just want to say thank you to all the staff, including Tracy. Thanks, Mitch.